Hi, all. Kinsey Schofield here. Welcome to Crown and Conflict, a series dedicated to dissecting the most riveting royal scandals in history. With insight from world-renowned royal experts, we explore the stories that shook the monarchy and captivated the globe. Currently rocking the monarchy, however, is a new book by Andrew Lownie entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. I've said entitled so many times in the last 2 weeks, Andrew. I wonder if I've said it as much as you have.
Possibly not. I don't know. You had a head start. I've only been allowed to do broadcasts today, so
Oh,
I've had
wow,
to
this
keep it
feels so
quiet.
exciting then. So, I mean, are you so proud of this? What roadblocks did you face throughout this process? Because I talked to you around, I'd say 7 or 8 months ago, and you were like, you had your boxing gloves on trying to finish this book.
Absolutely. No, I mean, there have been lots of obstacles placed in ahead of me. I mean, the Yorks themselves refused to cooperate and told their friends not to cooperate. I've had legal letters from them from the Duchess even before the book was published, saying they were monitoring my social media and watch out. The Foreign Office told diplomats not to talk to me. The information rights departments, which is the freedom of information bits of both the Foreign Office and the Department of Trade, have basically refused all FOI requests for the files of Andrew as special representative, files which should be in the public records under the Public Records Act. Yeah, I mean, there's been attempts to try and discredit my research, to say that I'm not a serious historian, the standard stuff. And of course, this isn't new. I mean, this happened. Poor old Amy Robach tried to get the story out for ABC years ago about Andrew and Virginia. And the palace put pressure on ABC saying, do you want an interview with William or Kate, or would you think about dropping this? And that happens all the time. I had a case earlier this year with one particular national paper where they'd written a piece based on an interview I gave them. The Duchess complained, and they took the piece down and then had a nice interview with her.
Oh my
There's,
goodness.
there's a
It
lot of
is.
carrot and stick around. And in fact, there's one national paper that hasn't covered this book at all,
Oh,
where the person in charge is very close friends with Sarah Ferguson.
oh, how
So,
interesting.
so we
We
have
won't
this goes on.
advertise them. We won't give them the free press. Um, I
Exactly.
I will say when it comes to Prince Harry, he's truthful about a lot of the things he says in Spare about this. Well, we want that story to die, so we're going to give you this story. However, he does it today. Him and Meghan do the same thing today. I've seen that Meghan
Well,
and Harry tried to discredit certain media outlets because they don't like what they're going to say. It's so bizarre to me
I,
because
I, I've
while he
had it.
complains about it, he does the same thing that everybody else does, that the royal
Yeah.
family does.
Oh, exactly. No, they're all trading information and trying to protect their principles. But even with, my story with him and the fight with Andrew, which was, a paragraph in my book, he wrote to a number of American papers saying it was inaccurate, and they withdrew their interviews. And cancelled interviews in about three or four major papers without anyone coming to me to check, as they should do, and made defamatory comments about my expertise as a historian and truthfulness. Uh, and I've just been doing interviews with various people in Britain, and they've received letters from his PR people saying they shouldn't be talking to me. So
Oh
it's kind
my
of
goodness.
sinister.
Well, you're right. So that's one of the questions I wanted to ask because Newsweek claims they fired off legal papers, but have you actually seen them, or is this one of those Harry and Meghan moments where they pitch a nasty fit just for show?
No, I've seen a legal letter. I mean, I know Collins are responding to it quite robustly, and they said it's just a complete trial. On the scale of 10, they gave it a 2.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. So in your I think the punching story is incredibly riveting. And it's like I said to Kevin O'Sullivan, like of all the stories in the world that you're going to dismiss, it's the one that makes you actually look like a decent human being.
Exactly. There's nothing defamatory about it. That was the one point where people were sort of cheering him on.
Exactly. But I think that what's really interesting to my audience is that Prince Andrew told in your book, you talk about how Prince Andrew told Prince Harry his marriage to Meghan Markle would not last more than a month and accused him of being bonkers for not doing his due diligence into her past, which is something, talk to Andrew Morton, talk to Tom Bauer. All of these people that have written books about her have been like, it's a struggle to get to the truth of who this female was before she meets Prince Harry because she's reinvented herself so many times throughout the last 44 years. You say that Prince Andrew told Harry he was making the biggest mistake ever, and that Harry later tells Prince William in reaction to all of this that he hated Prince Andrew. I think that it is obviously Harry disagrees with this. It's easy for us to consume that as truth based on our own feelings about Meghan Markle, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it rings true, doesn't it? It came from a very good source in the family who's been reliable to me in the royal household. There's no reason not to. I doubled down on it after he came forward. I think he would have been better leading the whole thing. I want to thank him because he propelled my book into the bestseller list.
I mean, that is truly I think the theme behind Never Complain, Never Explain. The second you acknowledge something, it blows up. And I feel like whenever Harry and Meghan dismiss something that I've said, internally, it confirms to me that I've hit a nerve because I was on the right path. I am on the right path, or I was on the right path.
A-
And that's the
Absolutely.
opposite of what they want to happen.
Exactly. No, I don't know who's advising on comms. It keeps changing, but they're not doing a very good job. But I think you made the very good point with Kevin that they're just monitoring people like you. I mean, they're kind of stalking you. You would think they might get a life. I'm sure it's very interesting, watching your program stuff. But I mean, you would think they would just be above all this, and clearly they're not.
I know. Is there not some way? Well, I thought it was so interesting because I believe it was yesterday, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, announced this new early learning project that she's put together these great, cute little cartoons and visuals that she helped put together. So she's announcing this new early learning project, and there's Meghan posting the alcoholic popsicles. And you're just like, this might be why you were never meant to be a member of the British royal family. Your priorities are totally different. Another thing you pointed out in this book that I thought, well, that's a no brainer. How did we not immediately just assume this? Was that one of the reasons that the Meghan Markle bully report is in a vault somewhere, and the royal family, which I always say that that's like the royal family protecting Meghan, whether she wants to admit it or not, is the royals actually protecting Prince Andrew potentially because they're so afraid if they blow up these Meghan Markle bullying allegations that it will inspire other people who worked under Andrew to come out and be like, well, wait until you hear about what I had to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, no. I mean, the Legion, the complaints about him, he doesn't seem to treat staff in the same way as they're not really proper people. And I mean, what interested me is, I mean, though they've signed NDAs, I did get members of staff to talk to me, and I think because they were just so appalled by his behavior and the way he treated people, they kind of wanted to get this message out. But yeah, they're full of stories of maids being summoned up from 4 floors to open the curtains and you know police protection officers having to pick up his golf balls when he's done them down the fairway and stuff. I mean,
Well,
it's
firing
extraordinary
was
behavior.
it was did he fire somebody that had a mole, or did he just reassign them so he didn't have to look at them?
I think they got reassigned. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's an extraordinary sort of droit de seigneur sort of rule. He's like a sort of 16th century king, really.
Absolutely. So the story that Prince Harry really seems fired up about is this incident where he allegedly punches Prince Andrew at a family gathering because he overhears something Prince Andrew said behind his back. This is unrelated to Meghan Markle, and I think that I've seen that get mixed up a couple of times
Yes, it
because
has. That's one of
yeah,
the problems that
yeah,
people have confused the
because
two dates.
right, because this happens back in 2013, and you say that Prince Harry actually gets the better of him, and Prince Andrew walks away with a bloody nose. Harry's trying to fight this argument, yet talks about physical altercations in Spare between his brother. We saw in 2004 and 2007 scuffles between Harry and paparazzi that were well documented in the papers. I mean, I feel like there are so many. Tom Bauer talks about in his book 2017, Harry like violently angry over catching paparazzi in Jamaica, trying to capture him and Meghan Markle at a friend's wedding. You know, there's a history there, so it's hard to listen to him try to dismiss this, and the way that he dismisses it, like it's just so silly. It's like, Harry, you've put into words yourself that there can be physical altercations within this family. It's hard to digest this sheer dismissal.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and I mean, he's walking into a bit of a trap because, if he goes to pursue this, which no one thinks he will, it's all bluff. But if he does, he will have to be subpoenaed, have to talk about, as you say, this history of violence, his history of not always being, so we say, economical with the truth, and maybe Prince Andrew will have to give evidence. I mean, this will be wonderful for all of us. So I
Exactly.
can't wait.
We'd be very, very busy. You heard me say this to Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'm curious to know if you agree that it's really the idea that, oh, Prince Andrew, I forgot to say, Prince Andrew also tells Prince Harry, I think that Meghan Markle is too old for you.
Yes.
I feel like some of those comments really stung Meghan specifically. And while we all go, whoa, there was a punch thrown, reality is, in my opinion, that this was really instigated by Meghan because she hated these comments that were too close to home. You know, an opportunist, too old for him, and somebody that has a mysterious background that might not be very flattering to the family. I mean, I know you know this, but she's giving a you know what in the opening scene of the new 90210 reboot. She's in somebody's, her face is in somebody's lap. 20 years ago, that woman would not be able to marry a working member of the British royal family. If even though she's an actress, even though she's playing a role, that is just beneath the British royal family.
Yes, no, she's amazingly successful in the way that she's wormed her way in. And as you say, we don't know the full story. I mean, there are clearly lots of rumors, and people have tried to link it to Andrew. I found no evidence to support that. So no, I think it's it'll be interesting if things do emerge. People clearly have been looking at this very carefully, and Tom Bower and Andrew Morton are very good authors. So, if they can't find it, then one has to wonder, how well, it is clearly very well disguised.
Right. And it just keeps evolving. I mean, I think at one point she said she was Maltese, then she was from
Nigerian, wasn't she?
Nigeria. I mean, and then I watched a video on her on YouTube a few days ago where she's saying all the jobs she has as a child, and I'm like, did you ever go to school? Like you worked in your grandfather's antique shop, you worked at Humphrey Yogurt, you worked at all of these places, you worked at BB. When did you find time to start your calligraphy business that you claim you had? It's just, it's it's also strange to me because I've never seen someone so desperate to tell us about herself pull back so much, be so bizarrely private in a way that feels like I think because she will disappear for months at a time, it makes what she's trying to sell us seem that much more inauthentic.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, she has a completely tin ear. It's extraordinary, how wrong she gets it. But she keeps coming back, I suppose. You've got to admire that.
That ruthlessness, that relentlessness. Yeah. Let's talk about this bombshell report in the Daily Telegraph, which I even saw Tom Sykes say that this is the kind of paper that the palace prefers. Like if they have a big scoop or they want to whisper something important into someone's ear, it's the Daily Telegraph. They claim that Prince William intends to address the Prince Andrew problem head on when he becomes king, taking steps his father has so far avoided by permanently removing his disgraced uncle from the royal family's official ranks. And this is in direct reaction to how damaging, allegedly, entitled is on the royal family. This is to be so entitled, to be so vulgar, to be so dismissive of real people. And also, there's just this grossness about their willingness to just throw money around that I think we're kind of grossed out by their obsession with money and how awful they are with managing it. Uh, did
And the
you
people
do you
they mixed with, absolutely. No, I mean, I was, pleased by that Telegraph piece because in some ways, Andrew is only part of the problem. But until they address, the whole question of accountability and transparency, particularly with their finances, and really until, they all begin to behave well. I mean, most of them do, and this is what's so sad that the Andrews and the Sarahs bring down the rest of them with their noses in the trough. But to be honest, there are others. They may not be working royals, but they have royal positions. Zara and Peter Phillips, for example. You have to sometimes question some of their business activities. And I've been calling for a royal register, which is what MPs looked at 20 years ago and never happened, because I think we need to have a much clearer sense of what they're being paid to do and why. Is it because they're royals, or is it because of their particular expertise as sports people? And let's hope there is a change, that the dial has moved, because certainly since the Queen died, I think there has been a sea change in attitudes towards the monarchy, and they're on dicey ground, and they can't afford to have Andrews and Fergies who are basically exploiting their position.
well, you aside from the Royal Navy pension and potential inheritance and reported support from first the Queen, now King Charles, you do ask questions about how Prince Andrew manages to afford the 30-room Royal Lodge, property. He spent 7.5 million renovating, and we believe that the upkeep year round, 250,000 pounds. Uh, any ideas? There was this bizarre report a few weeks or months ago that he was going to take the pitch at the palace template and do that internationally, where I think it was Japan or somewhere very far away from him, unrelated to him, was going to again pay him to make introductions, and that potentially the king was okay with this because it seemed like it wasn't a problem, and he was going to maybe be a bit it was going to be a bit of a relief from his purse strings. Any ideas about where Prince Andrew's making his money today?
Well, I think he's making a lot of money in the Middle East. I mean, one of the ways that the royals are paid is in jewels, and then the jewels are fenced through particular jewelers. Uh, they basically, take out some of the stones and resell them.
Wow.
It's clear from Pitch at the Palace Global, which was the bit that wasn't part of the charity, that he was making quite large sums of money there, particularly in China, and that money was being withdrawn, so he was living off that. We don't know all the businesses he has because he has stuff offshore and he has Chinese bank accounts. And again, we have these odd moments with legal cases. The famous Selman Turk case, where he was paid £750,000 supposedly for helping someone get a passport. Fergie got £250,000 as a brand ambassador for a solar energy firm. And Eugenie got £25,000 to help organize a party for her mother. Uh, so there's a lot of very murky things going on. I mean, one of the things I noticed, and I had forensic accountants look at this, is that just the number of accounts they have with nothing really happening in them, but so small that they don't basically have to be properly audited.
Yeah.
And you're going to wonder, why have you got so many accounts that are doing nothing, which haven't got any auditing? So I think there are a lot of questions about what's going on, but I have no doubt that there's a lot of money coming in. Sarah Ferguson has two flats which pay, I understand, rent of £250,000. They sold their chalet in Switzerland for, I think, £14 million. So there is a lot of money running around. And it's just a question of I think their expenses that just far exceed their income.
Oh my goodness. It's hard to even process living that way when you think how privileged they are to begin with. You think, I could figure it out. I could stay within my means. So you say in your book that Prince William has been working to try and remove his uncle Andrew from Royal Lodge at Windsor. The quote is, William has long worked behind the scenes to evict his uncle from Royal Lodge. the home he occupies by Windsor Great Park. He thinks Andrew is abusing the property and his privilege there. Is it so? When we heard the reports that King Charles was trying to make that move or push Prince Andrew into Frogmore, Harry and Meghan's previous residence, was it Prince William, kind of behind the scenes going, let's get that done?
I don't know. I suspect so. I mean, he's certainly been one of the driving forces all the way through. I mean, even going back to 2019 and Andrew being stripped of his various royal duties, I think it was William who kind of stiffened the sinews there with the Queen and with Charles. So yeah, he sees the reputational damage to the monarchy. He's the person who's got to carry this thing on. So
Mm-hmm.
has most at stake to defend. And in some ways, I think he would like this problem dealt with before he comes to the throne.
Right.
So
That's almost it's almost unfair that he would have to deal with it. There are reports here that Andrew will not be invited to his coronation, which does not surprise me. That, the Telegraph goes as far as to say that Prince Andrew could be stripped of his title, the prince title, entirely by Prince William, with new legislation introduced by the government to formalize its removal. But looking at this, it's like he would already have to be taking on so much with when and if he becomes the king. Why should he have to deal with problems that are decades old, these thorns in the royal family sides that we've all recognized as being liabilities?
well, I think my understanding is the feeling is that these, as you say, long-standing problems should be sorted out. They clean up the stables before he inherits. The problems we don't know when he's going to inherit. So hopefully it'll be a long way hence. But there is, the possibility that it may be soon. So they need to get a grip on this. But yeah, I mean, letters patent could remove a lot of these things. He should no longer be a Knight of the Garter. He should not be a Councillor of State. I mean, we have this extraordinary position where if something happened to Charles and to William, uh, we might well find actually Andrew stepping in as some form of regent. He's still that close to the throne. So they really need to address this problem. And I think the problem is that he is drawing support away from the monarchy. It's all the good works that William and Kate and Princess Anne, all these people do, are completely wiped out when a story about Andrew and Fergie appears.
I have an interesting question for you based on your research, because I would say a month ago, I would have said to you that King Charles is just so soft hearted that he doesn't want to hurt his brother, or maybe potentially he made a promise to Queen Elizabeth before she passed away. But Tom Bower told me that King Charles is actually pretty ruthless. And if you cross him, he's done with you. And so now truly believe Tom Bower. I trust Tom Bower. I
Yeah,
also
well, I mean, his book Rebel Prince. I mean, the way
Yeah.
he dealt with Diana. I mean, I think he doesn't do it himself, but he has lots of people who do it for him. Yeah.
So do you think that do you kind of linger in that space with Tom Bower where you believe that there is really no justification for why he hasn't cut Andrew off? If he can be that ruthless, why is Andrew still hanging around?
Well, I mean, one of the themes of the book is the threat all the way through, either given by Andrew or friends of Sarah Ferguson, that they're going to spill the beans.
Mm,
And that's always the threat. I mean, there were rumors that Andrew was going to write his own book a year ago, or have something ghosted by someone else. So that's always the worry, that they do a sort of Andrew Morton talk to someone in the way Diana did and spill all the
spare,
family
spare,
secrets.
spare.
Spare, but I mean, I think of Andrew Morton and Diana. It would be very easy to disguise something with a tame journalist and put a lot of stuff out there that could be very embarrassing. And I think that's one of the problems. That's the knife edge that they walk on, that they've got to sort of keep them sweet. Otherwise, it could be very dangerous.
Well, that's also what they said about Paul Burrell, right? That potentially the royal family swooped in and saved him at the last minute to ensure that he didn't say anything that might embarrass them on the stand when he was accused of stealing all of Princess Diana's property. All of a sudden, like out of nowhere, in the final hour, Queen Elizabeth makes a statement and she says, "You know what? Actually, I remember Paul Burrell telling me that he was going to hold some things just to protect them." And all of a sudden, he's
Like her underwear.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. Like, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I want people to hold to protect me. But speaking of underwear, I feel like Fergie would have thrown hers at JFK Jr. based on some of your details.
Oh, absolutely. No, no. There was a list. I mean, I'm surprised he was number nine on the list because, I mean, she was absolutely obsessed by him. And of course, she was very jealous of Diana because Diana had had dinner. And I think, I'm not sure it is in the book, but Alan Starkey, who was close to one of the business associates, friend of John Bryan, and actually a lover of Fergie, tried to commit suicide at one point because he felt let down by the business that basically Fergie was going to help bail out, and she didn't. And she went to visit him in hospital and said, if you think of doing this again, can you go and tell John F. Kennedy Sr. that, I've got the hots for JFK Jr. and I have a hope one day of being a first lady that we'll marry. So she lives in a complete fantasy world.
Oh my gosh. Because she's into all of that. Well, I mean, I know that she introduced Diana to astrology. We know she's very much into, I don't know how to categorize it, but I'm not surprised that she asked somebody that almost passed away to go to the other side and talk to the ghost of
Yeah,
JFK Sr. That does not surprise
absolutely.
me at all based on what we
Yeah,
know
no,
of.
she had
Yeah.
about three or four people that she astrologists that she called on: Penny Thornton, Madame Vasso, a whole list, and would spend hours with them. And in fact, one of them was the one who told her that Andrew might be end up as regent. It's one of the reasons she kind of hung around. And of course, that she thought that was confirmed when Charles almost died in the skiing accident that killed Hugh Lindsay.
Yeah.
So, she kind of believes the stuff, and they swap books and alternative health. And the Queen had got fed up with her. She said she just talks mumbo jumbo the whole time.
Well, it's a little bit like Meghan Markle.
There are
In
lots of parallels. It's absolutely fascinating how history repeats itself. Andrew is very similar to the Duke of Windsor. The love of golf, the avarice, dealing with his investments and making money and moving around with a pretty shady cafe society. There's a whole pattern of behavior.
Well, yeah,
Um,
you
and
write in your book this one, it's almost like Fergie wants the queen to feel sorry for her because she tells the queen that all Andrew wants to do when he's home is sit around the TV, eat TV dinners in front of golf and watch golf. And I just think, but you could be a lady who lunches, you could, you don't have to go and misbehave so much because you're not getting what you want. Why can't you just make your life work, and I'm sure that that's the never complain, never explain. I'm sure that that's how the queen felt too. Just make it work. It's not the end of the world because this guy wants to sit around and watch golf all day. But I wonder how much that is similar to Harry and Meghan, because I've heard that he sits around playing video games all the time while Meghan is trying to think up the next big scheme. So the parallels you talk about it's one of my favorite reasons that I follow royal history is just, wow, what about Meghan and the Fergie does QVC, Fergie does Weight Watchers. She really becomes just kind of like this celebrity spokesperson in the United States. I don't think Meghan has found similar success yet. Do you
yeah.
think she would pursue similar success I mean, because Meghan could have a payday if she became somebody's spokesperson.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Sarah, has certain sort of, she's a very upbeat, sort of fun person. And, there's a very strong, fun personality there, which is attractive. And she's played the victim card, as you say. She's keeps saying, I've learnt my mistakes. People sympathize with her. She creates this narrative that the palace, didn't take care of her and her husband was never there. And she overeats and no one loved her as a child. I mean, there's a very carefully manipulated narrative that she keeps repeating, and she just needs to go and Oprah and confess, and everyone forgives her, and then she does it all over again. But at least, she's a character, and I'm afraid Meghan Markle it doesn't have that sort of that
It's charm. It is, I hate
charm.
to say it, but it's charm. Yeah. I boldly skipped over the good JFK stuff because I just thought it was so ridiculous. So she invites JFK Jr. for drinks or dinner at her hotel in New York because she finds out that he's there. I mean, he lives there, she's there, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna invite him for dinner." And you say that somebody from the Kennedy camp is like, "Yeah, well, of course, but he's dating Daryl Hannah, who like Val Kilmer writes that like Hannah is the only woman that ever broke his heart. I mean, she is who everybody wants to bed. She's the end all be all. And Fergie's like, that doesn't bother me. But it
Exactly. Yeah, I can deal with her.
exactly, but it allegedly does bother Hannah. So JFK Jr. cancels, claiming a prior engagement. And you say that Fergie sent staff to spy on his place to see if he's actually lying about going off and doing something else because she's so incensed that he would have the audacity to cancel on her.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. That is like next level, but you're right. She does sounds like she does live in this like little fantasy world. And was this fight or this competition with Diana, you specifically talk about it when it comes to JFK Jr., but was it just in general? Did you feel like she did have a constant competition with Diana?
Absolutely. A terrific jealousy between the two. I mean, she envied Diana because Diana clearly was more elegant than her. She was, well connected. She was smarter than her. So people sort of forgave Diana stuff that poor Fergie had to take the rap for. At the same time, Diana was jealous of her because she had a better relationship, she thought, with other members of the royal family.
Mm.
She went and played charades with them and went riding and walked the dogs. So, and they, of course, fought over certain charities. There's a famous story where uh, Fergie tries to muscle in on an AIDS charity that Diana feels is her own. And they watched the column inches in the papers, who was getting the most attention. They were both, I'm afraid, absolutely obsessed with the sort of fame, and who was more famous. And Diana played her because Diana said, "Well, let's leave the royal family at the same time. We'll do a sort of joint to leave at the same time, and it'll be a double whammy." And then she reneged on that, and poor old uh, Fergie basically was left isolated, and Diana was just trying to test the water to see how the royal family would react.
Oh, wow.
So, and of course, Diana began to distance herself from Fergie. Fergie was very indiscreet. She wrote about things in her books, and um, Diana
Like the
just cut her
warts, the
loose.
warts, she said she got
The
warts when she
verrucas.
borrowed
The verrucas. Yeah, exactly.
borrowed
She
Prince.
borrowed some shoes and got some verrucas.
That's
But it
so
was also, I mean, she was leaking stories, and couldn't be trusted. And I think, everyone began to distance themselves. I mean, Prince Edward had the daughters and Prince Andrew to his wedding, but he didn't invite Fergie.
oh, wow. Well, I hate to dwell on the subject, but no, I don't. You also write that she spent hours searching magazines for articles about JFK Jr., cut out photos of him in his swimsuit, and debated with friends what aspects of her personality he would like. I mean, do you feel like she was just still a teenage girl a little bit? I mean, we say that about Princess Diana that she married too early and she didn't really have time to mature and she was almost stuck there as that
Yeah.
teenage girl walking down the aisle.
Yeah, I think there's a very strong sense of that with both Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, that they were
Oh,
sort of never really grown up. I mean, Andrew with his teddy bears and stuff. And for her, her mother left and she had to grow up quite quickly, living there just with her father. Her sister had married. And I think there, she behaves in a juvenile way. I mean, she plays up to the children, but I mean, her podcasts and things are all about being very juvenile, and that's where I think she feels happiest. Pretending to be a 5-year-old. It's away from a world of responsibility. So yeah, I think they both have this sort of delayed adolescence, where the world was safer and less complicated.
you say, well, you mentioned John's name earlier, John Bryan, that she had a $1.14 million annual expenditure included included almost 400,000 on staff, 200,000 on gifts, 66,000 on parties, another 200,000 on travel, and $132,000 on clothing. This was where I was like, whoa, including a true spending spree at Bloomingdale's where $33,000 was dropped in 1 hour. I couldn't do that. And I think I'm an incredibly skilled shopper. I don't even know how you would do this.
Well, I think she just bought one of everything. I mean,
Oh,
she would often just say she'd like a jersey and then just buy 8 different colors. Or she would say, I'll take 8 and I'll return 7, and then never bother to return the 7.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think she just had to have things. And
What do you know if
bottles of
there's a
wine that were opened
psychologically
and never
behind?
drunk.
Do you know if there's anything psychological behind that? Like, do we know if it's because of the way she grew up, or was it because she felt this competition with other members of the royal family, so she needed to have things, so she felt as good? Do you have any take on that, or I just don't understand how you get there?
Yes. Well, I think she calls herself a people pleaser. She's very generous. She's always trying to sort of give presents to people. People wants people to like her. So she spent a fortune on, for example, jewelry for friends and staff. And she is very generous, but in a way she can't afford. But I think yes, it's a way of making bigging herself up and giving her, because she feels very insecure, making her feel important. And she does, she was used to big spenders. Patty McNally was a multimillionaire, and she got used to living in that world, going on yachts with Roman Abramovich and traveling with Richard Branson, who don't think twice about this stuff.
Mm.
And she kind of felt she had to keep up. And ridiculous things. She had three drivers. I mean, I tell the story of one person was employed just to wrap presents up. There were two people just picking up dog poo.
Yeah.
um
The
so
astrologers were on the payroll, which is
and the astrologers and the personal trainers who were kept paid but never actually used. They would hang around all day, and installing phone lines and very expensive wines that she sort of opened and didn't drink, expensive meals that she never ate, travel that she never took. She would book travel which was not refundable and then not care. She kind of thought easy come, easy go. And of course, you can't keep doing that.
Yeah, because I felt like were we buried her, I thought, throughout the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. I know that Prince Andrew is alleged to do something far more horrible, but we, I felt like we didn't talk enough about the fact that she gladly took a loan from this man. And I think you said she didn't pay back a lot of those loans.
No, I mean, there were more numbers for her in Epstein's black book than of Andrew, and she stayed at the house on a regular basis over a much longer period than she's said, and was much closer to Epstein. I mean, she should be giving evidence to the FBI as well as Andrew. She's kind of kept under the radar on Epstein, and it's all been focused on Andrew because of the sex allegations. But actually, the money allegations against him, and that's why the poor guy was sort of going back there with his hand held out, particularly in December 2010. It was all to get money for his wife.
Mm.
And so she's much more closely implicated in the whole thing than I think people have realized.
I agree with you. Does it surprise you? I had a friend tell me that she had an outstanding balance at a store and they were pulling their hair out because she kept wanting to come in and still shop, but the outstanding balance kept growing and growing. And every time they'd say to her, "We really need you to catch up," she would find a reason to, very flaky, would just find a way to worm her way out. So they
Yeah.
went through old pages of receipts, which this might be illegal, but they went through old pages of receipts until they could find one of her old credit card statements, because it was back when you had to do this and like you would see the indentation on the paper. And so they finally just got fed up, found an old piece of paper that had her credit card info, and manually did it so that they could try to clear her up at the store. I mean, I like that's a new low. And they
Yeah, yeah.
probably
Well, she ran up huge debts, with lawyers, with hairdressers, with people who painted pictures of her daughters and never paid them. People who loaned her money for holidays. The sense is of entitlement is, these people should be pleased to be helping me, and they're little people, and they don't really count. So I can do exactly what I want. Staff ran up huge bills on their credit cards for her, and there were bills her staff weren't paid. Um, she would. I mean, there was a moment when she was on holiday and her electricity bill came in, and she didn't want to pay it, and the electricity was going to be cut off. She can't be bothered. That's not important. She's more important than that.
My final question to you is: you wrote, "She partied, she took lovers." I'm sorry that this became the Sarah Ferguson show, but
That's no,
it's so
fascinating. Yeah.
exciting to me. She partied, she took lovers, she was indiscreet, causing Princess Margaret to tell the Duchess, "You have done more to bring shame on the royal family than could ever have been imagined. Clearly, you have never considered the damage you are doing all of us. How dare you discredit us? That's, I mean, to come from Princess Margaret, who was considered in my genre, the original royal rebel, that's pretty harsh, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, call the kettle calling the pot black, pot calling the kettle black. But yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think many of the members of the royal family, didn't, for example, attend some of the celebrations for Andrew and Sarah because they really wanted to distance themselves. And particularly Philip and Elizabeth were very concerned that she hung in there, and they didn't allow their son to develop new relationships. They felt she was a bad influence on him. Uh, um, yeah, I mean, her whole raison d'etre is based on being a member of the royal family, which is why she's so keen to get back in. And in some ways, why they need to distance themselves from her, because I think she is as much a liability to them as Prince Andrew.
I lied. One more question. Is it friends with benefits? Why does she still live in that house? Is it because it's convenient and it's big and she has her own wing and she just likes her space and it's comfortable to her? Or do these people occasionally snuggle?
Nope, I don't think so. I don't think they snuggled for a long time. I think it's friends with benefits in the real sense of the word. That he's there, she's paying the bills with the staff. I mean, she doesn't have to cook. It's all laid on for her. She lives in a style that she wouldn't normally be able to afford. And the deal is that she supports him, and he's grateful for that because not many people do. And they both, I mean, he had a lover living there for, I understand, 5 years. So under the radar, sneaked in through the back entrance. So when we say he's stuck in the Royal Lodge and having a terrible time, well, I don't know. I mean, I suspect he's been sneaking people in and out, and he's been leaving himself.
Watching
Uh,
plenty of golf.
well, I mean, he's got his golf exactly, um, and that's what he likes doing. So, I mean, in some ways, it's perfect. TV and golf, that's what he loves. And the masseurs coming in to help him heal is the term.
Entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. You've heard about it. Everybody's talking about it. Andrew, I mean, this is a pretty huge deal. So, congratulations on all of your success. I know that you
Thank
worked
you.
very hard on this book.
Thank you. Well, it's lovely to talk to you, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, sir. I'll talk to you again very soon.
Talk soon. Bye bye.